Welcome to Mountain Strong. Today I'm at Kincaid Park. I'm actually at the southern part of Kincaid Park, and a part of the park that's been set aside for motocross racing or exhibition or whatever. I guess not racing, but anyway, there's a lot of hills and ravines and stuff, and I came to the edge of that track and came to a place that is just pretty much a sheer drop-off, and don't really have the time to truly explore this place. We are at sunset right now, and so just taking advantage of the time that we have, the daylight that we have, to do our Psalms for today. It's gotten really towards the end of the week, and I've got a couple more videos to shoot, so we're going to jump right into it. And forgive the wind. It's extremely windy right now, but hopefully you're going to be able to hear me and hear the audio all right on this. Let's read together our Psalm for today, Psalm 129. Greatly have they afflicted me from my youth. Let Israel now say, greatly have they afflicted me from my youth, yet they have not prevailed against me. The plowers plowed upon my back. They made long their furrows. The Lord is righteous. He has cut the cords of the wicked. May all who hate Zion be put to shame and turn backward. Let them be like the grass on the housetops, which withers before it grows up, with which the reaper does not fill his hand, nor the binder of sheaves his arms, nor do those who pass by say, the blessing of the Lord be upon you. We bless you in the name of the Lord. We've come to the 10th of the Songs of Ascent, songs that people believe were compiled so that people would have something to sing as they marched to Jerusalem for those great feast days that the Jews celebrated each year. And as I think about these Psalms, I'm reflecting upon them and seeing in them a sort of description of the life of faith, some reminders that are needed and some things that need to be thought about as we think about the life of faith. And I think it's just so appropriate that they were singing these songs perhaps as they were marching to Jerusalem, and that as we march to spiritual Zion, as we march towards our heavenly home, these are good reminders for us as well. And I think about this particular psalm, and I'm reminded of the fact that the journey to Zion, the journey to Jerusalem, is not always an easy journey. As you reflect upon the imagery there of verse number 3, you see the psalmist saying that the plowers have plowed upon my back. And I don't know if he's talking about simply being trodden upon by people, or the more vivid picture of actually being beaten with whips to the point that there are like rows along his back. But I read that, and again I see that the journey to Jerusalem is not easy, and that we face conflict, we face toil, we face hardship along the way. In fact, the hardship that the psalmist has faced, and Israel has faced along with him, verses 1 and 2, has been a hardship that he has endured and they have endured from their youth up, and so a very, very, very long time. And they have faced this hardship, but the reminder that's needed on the journey to Jerusalem, and the reminder perhaps that's needed for us as well, that even when we face hardship, they're not going to prevail against us. The psalmist says, we have been afflicted from our youth, but they have not prevailed against me. And so he sees them perhaps whipping him in verse 3, but then he sees in verse 4 that the Lord has cut the cords of the whip, cut the cords of slavery. Whatever the picture might be, the Lord will end the bondage of those who are serving under it, and will cause people to experience freedom in Him. The psalmist knows that. He knows that, but if he wants to have that in his life, and if the people of Israel want to have it in their lives, and if we want to have it in our life today, then we have to be a people who continually seek for the Lord and His help. In verse 5, he calls upon the Lord. He says, may all who hate Zion be put to shame and turn backward. Now, what follows in verses 6 through 8 are some imprecatory wishes. Some wishes for the Lord to not bless. And when you think about the fact that the psalmist has perhaps experienced someone whipping his back, to simply wish the Lord not to bless him is probably a light wish. But again, we're reminded that whether it's these words or the more vivid language that we see in the Psalms, where the psalmist truly is wishing terrible things upon his enemy, that the place to go and the place to seek vengeance is with the Lord. We leave it with Him, and we allow Him to do what is best in His own time. And so the life of faith, again, we face hardships. Facing hardships, bring those to the Lord and realize that they might afflict you, but they will not defeat you. And the Lord will cut the cords. He will cause the hardship to end. He will cause the enemies to be defeated. And He will see that you are able to make it to that spiritual Zion, that you're able to march to heaven victoriously. May God bless you today.